Hi everyone, I'm so glad you're here hanging out and talking about neat interior design topics with me. In today's video, we're going to be focusing in on color, and we're going to be talking about color intensity. So, how intense a color is or not, and how to use that when we are designing our interiors. So if that topic sounds interesting to you, I'd love to have you hang out. And I want to give a big shout out to everyone who's subscribing to my channel and liking my videos and commenting. It's really wonderful and it's really helping me to grow my channel. So thank you. So let's get started. So we can think of color intensity in terms of how much color is in a color. So how pure of a color that color is, or if that color is not as pure and is more kind of grayed out. So for instance, if a color is super pure and it's super saturated with a color, we can think of that in terms of, maybe that color is super strong or super intense or super bright. And it may even have, a lot of contrast. It's super vibrant and, just a very strong color. But if that color is grayed down, we can think of it almost like a neutral color in some versions. And maybe it's more subdued or soft and less contrast. So color intensity really just has to do with how intense that color is. And the more intense, the more color is in a color. And the less intense, the less of that color is in that color. So how does all of this work? So to change the intensity of a color, because we can start out with a color, say for instance, this ultramarine paint color. And if I were to add a gray to that ultramarine color, it changes the blue. It's no longer just 100% saturated just with ultramarine blue. It now has another color in it, and it changes that color. It kind of grays it down. I even could add, a contrasting color to that blue, which would be an orange, which would be the complement of blue. Like if we looked at a color wheel, we would see orange is opposite blue. And just by adding the complementary color to a color, that grays down a color. It turns it into almost a neutral color. So depending on, what colors you add to another color to kind of gray it down, to kind of neutralize it, that's going to create a variety of different colors. We could even start out with this super, vibrant kind of pinkish orange color. But if we keep graying it down, taking out the color and adding in more gray or another color in there that kind of, grays it down a little bit, we can come up with a dusty rose color, which is very interesting. It still has those original colors in it, but it's been kind of calmed down. It's more subdued and softer. So it's kind of this neat thing of, working with colors and, thinking about what it is that you want to have in your space, how you want that space to look and feel, and whether you want something super vibrant or something more subdued. Thinking about the intensity of a color is really, really helpful. So a good example to see this kind of in action is to look at a wall of paint samples at a paint store. And you can see that top area is full of more vibrant, saturated, intense colors. But the more you move down, the less intense, the less saturated they are, and they become more grayed out and more neutral. So, thinking about this, how we would use this in interior design. Well, we would think about, what is it that we're going for? What's the look and feel that we're going for in a room? Maybe we really want it to be very vibrant and energetic. And so we would lean towards, a color that is more saturated and, much more stronger and intense. But if we want to have a more subdued room and subdued look, maybe we, go towards a color that is a little bit more grayed out and a little bit softer. One thing I think is kind of fun to do is to think of balance. So instead of just having a room all in vibrant colors or all in very soft, subdued colors, is to have a variety in that room. So in this room, for instance, I like how there is this, kind of neutral wall color, but then they're using these very vibrant colors on the sofa and chair and also with the pillows. Super vibrant, saturated colors. But then their area rug is not competing with those furniture pieces. The area rug is much softer. Those tones are much more, toned down, kind of grayed out. So everything is kind of balanced, and then there's a variety of intensities in this room that works really well together. Another example of where, just by adding a contrasting intensity of color is helpful is just like in this chair. Instead of, keeping everything these softer, more subdued tones, as in the picture on the left, using a bright, more saturated green color on that chair, it just adds more variety, more interest to that chair and to that room. And then this is another example where there's this neat balance of really intense saturated color and then more subdued, less intense color. So the main house color are these beautiful colors, very neutral tones, subdued, softer, and give a beautiful backdrop to this home. But then they chose a beautiful saturated yellow color. And, the attributes of yellow is a very strong color, super bright, super intense anyway, just by itself. But they chose, this super bright, saturated yellow as their front door. I think it works really well because there's this balance between, intense colors and then more subdued colors. Plus, it helps that front door to show up so you can see where the front door is, and it's like the focal point of that home. If they chose, a color that was less saturated and just kind of blended in with that home, it wouldn't work as well. So I like how they use that just to have some contrasts between the body color and the front door. So think about color intensity just as another tool that you have in your back pocket to work with color. In addition to thinking about value, lightness and darkness of colors, and even color attributes. Color intensity and color saturation is super important when we want to create a look and feel to a certain room or space. And I encourage you, as a little exercise, just to take notice of the colors that are around you, whether you're inside or outside or out and about, and maybe comparing and contrasting colors. Maybe you see this cool red somewhere, but comparing that to another red, which one is more intense, which one is more saturated, or which one is more grayed out. And just to kind of take notice of that, and take notice too of how that makes you feel or what that looks like, and what kind of look that would give to a place if it's more grayed out or more intense, and how you would use that in interiors. And share what you find when you're out and about and taking notice of those things, and so we can have a fun conversation about that in the comments. So I hope you're doing well, and thanks again for watching, and take care, and I'll see you next time.